Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No.
I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Friday morning. We start from last night. It was a Big Ten bonanza in the Sweet 16. Iowa-Nebraska was off the rails for the last 4 minutes of this game. It's a 71-65 Iowa lead. That three in the corner for the Huskers cuts it to 71-68. This play will be discussed in Lincoln forever. The fact that the Huskers only had 4 players on the court to lead to an easy Iowa basket. The Hawkeyes would get another big throwdown. Iowa wins it 77-71. They're moving on, guys. You can kill the music. Meanwhile, the late game between Texas and Purdue is a crazy one as well. Went right down to the wire. The Boilermakers, led with Oscar Clough, former South Dakota State standout, in the middle. These two teams went right down to the wire as well. This finish cut the Longhorn lead with an and one. The game tied at 77. Next Purdue possession here, as you see, Swain has to make the free throw. Does. Ties the game up. Trey Kaufman-Wren, who's been sensational for Purdue all year long, is there for the one-handed tip. That is sensational. I'm not sure still how he made the shot. That gave Purdue a 79-77 lead with just under a second remaining. They thought the game was over. They put time back on the clock. Watch again. This is a phenomenal tip back. That gave the Boilers a 2-point lead. So Texas still had, though, a chance to catch and shoot. Jordan Pope will throw it up, but that one is off the mark. Boilermakers win it 79-77, part of 3 Big Ten teams winning last night. We had 4 games. The Big Ten gets 3 winners. Iowa, with Ben McCollum, who not that long ago was coaching Division II ball at Northwest Missouri State, is now in the Elite Eight. Purdue, which is always good, wins in a thriller over Texas. And then Houston curb-stomped by Illinois last night in Houston. So you've got an all-Big Ten matchup in the Elite Eight with Iowa-Illinois. That sounds like a Big Ten Network football game in late October. Instead, it's a chance to go to the Final Four. Arizona and Purdue will be the late game on Saturday night. We got the other 4 games tonight where the Big Ten can get 2 more teams into the Elite Eight. Michigan State plays Connecticut later tonight. Michigan plays Alabama later tonight as well. So who said the Big Ten was just all about football? They've won the last 3 national championships in football, but they have not won the Division I men's basketball championship since 2000, which is, again, say that out loud. Michigan State and Tom Izzo won it that year. They have not won it since. They've got a heck of a chance here to at least have, we know there's going to be at least one team in the Final Four thanks to the Iowa-Illinois game coming up tomorrow. And with that, we say good morning and welcome to Hot Mic, everybody, here on a Friday morning. That was fun. I mean, the one thing I would say that was critical of this, and it was going around social media last night, is the overlapping of games did not exist because both games, the first games ran long, and then you had the second games both tipping off at the same time, and both of the late games ended up being blowouts that you didn't have the traditional, okay, this game's over, I'm going to flip over and catch the end of the other game. I think I saw one post that this would be interesting. Why not stagger it when you have game at 6, a game at 7, a game at 8, and a game at 9? Now that has some merit to it. I think there were a lot of people on the East Coast that were not thrilled that the second games were tipping after 10 o'clock Eastern time last night. Now, for us in the Central Time Zone, let's go. I'm all on board on that. But for those in the Eastern Time Zone, I'm sure they were not thrilled that the second semifinals were going at 10 o'clock last night. 4 more games tonight, and we'll know who's in the Elite Eight by about, I'd say, 11 o'clock later tonight. Let's hope we have a couple more thrillers like we did yesterday. On top of that, we mentioned the baseball season fully began yesterday. We had Wednesday night's one-off with the Giants and the Yankees in San Francisco, but for real yesterday, it was opening day. For the Minnesota Twins, the start of their 2026 campaign with so many questions around what this team is going to look like this year. Already knowing their best pitcher is done for the season before even the year got going, with Pablo Lopez done with Tommy John surgery. With a bullpen that's been basically glued together, that there is no defined closer. With guys that are going to need career years like a Royce Lewis, a Trevor Larnach, a Matt Wallner for this team to potentially overachieve. Facing an Orioles team to start the year who underachieved last year. They only won 70 games. Let's show you what happened yesterday in Baltimore. Excuse me. Twins had the chance with the bases loaded in the second. Strikeout from Brooks Lee. They got nothing out of that. Top of the third with 2 on. And here's your old 5-4-3 double play that Ryan Jeffers grounds into. Prevents anything happening there. Joe Ryan was sensational yesterday. Now, every time that he pitches, he's going to give the Twins a chance to win. And if he does this, I mean, they should win, at least you'd think, the games he starts if they can score any runs. This is like the Paul Skeens deal, which, granted, Skeens got roughed up by the Mets yesterday. More on that later in the show. But he was great yesterday. 7 innings, no runs allowed. Bottom of the 7th, he's out of the game here when Justin Topa is on the mound. Allows this to Colton Cowser. That is a sac fly for the first run of the game. Makes it a 1-0 Orioles lead. Same score later in the inning. Topa, I'm done with already. I was done with last year. For some reason, they brought him back. Gives up the RBI hit here. It's a 2-0 score. Top of the 8th. Buxton up at the plate. Delivers here with one down the left field line. And the way he runs, he was not going to hesitate. He gets a triple with 1 out in the top of the 8th inning. Now, again, hitting with runners in scoring position was an issue all day yesterday. The Twins were 1 for 12. Larnach strikes out there to end the game. 2-1. Orioles get the win. The only run coming on a Luke Keeschall sac fly to score Buxton there in the 8th inning as the Twins fall in the opener. Trevor Rogers, the starter for the Orioles, 7 innings, 3 hits, 4 strikeouts, 5 walks. You see Ryan's line. He struck out 7. Cody Funderburk took the loss. Topa worked the 8th, or the 7th, and Rogers. Topa the 7th, Rogers the 8th, as the Twins lose on opening day. Afterwards, here's what Derek Shelton had to say as his first game as manager of the Twins.
For 12 with runners in scoring position, we have to be better than that. When he needed to put the ball on the ground, he did. And then, we had 2 innings where Mayo made a really nice play and Gunnar made a really nice play. And, those 2 balls, and then the fact that, and give them credit, they hit 2 balls where we were not standing, ended up being the determining factor in the game. I think it was a combination of both. We did hit some balls on the screws, and they played good defense, and that's what they do, And then I think the second component is he made pitches and made us put the ball on the ground, and when you put the ball on the ground in those situations, they turn into double plays, and I think we had, 2 or 3 of them, so that's what kind of killed our rallies. I mean, I think that's what you expect when you watch opening day. You don't expect, 10-5.
3 separate Twins grounded into double plays yesterday. I mentioned 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position, and that's an easy way to only score 1 run, especially against a really good pitcher like Baltimore was thrown out there yesterday. So, day off today. That's built into the schedule because of opening day, of weather. Back at it tomorrow. Taj Bradley will go for the Twins. Kyle Bradish will be the starter for Baltimore. Much more on the Twins coming up later in this first hour. We'll have our season debut with our guy Cory Provus. Of course, was on the call of the game yesterday. He will join us each and every Friday throughout the baseball season at 9:30 for the third straight year. We've got the TV voice of the Twins joining us. It's a great tradition. We had Dick Bramer forever. I'm really pumped. We've had Cory back now for his third season doing it, and we'll get his thoughts on this whole team, not just yesterday, but look ahead to the 2026 season. Guys that we should be keeping an eye on, ones that potentially we could see up in the majors before not too long. He was down in Fort Myers for the end of spring training, so we'll get the full breakdown from Cory coming up in about 25 minutes. Looking forward to that conversation. Now, that wasn't the only thing. Yesterday, we talked about last Thursday being a Supreme Sports Day, and it was. Yesterday was pretty darn good, too, because at one point yesterday, at least in my office, I had the Twins game on. Of course, they had the Mets on. We had the NCAA hockey tournament going on. We had the high school boys basketball tournament in Minnesota going on. Tom Hoagie was burning up the golf course in Houston. I mean, we're going to want these days when we get to May and June when we're winding down stuff, because this was tremendous yesterday. The opening day of the NCAA hockey tournament brought it to Sioux Falls. And for the first time, UND was there. Sioux Falls has hosted 3 previous times. UND has never played there. 2018, they didn't make the tournament. 2022, didn't make the tournament. 2024, they got sent to St. Louis, not to Sioux Falls. So you had to figure there was going to be a pretty good crowd. And there was for the game last night against Merrimack, who got in red hot, won their league as an 8 seed. And you can see why, by the way. Their goalie was great. UND finally broke the seal early in the first period on that goal from Cody Kroll to make it a 1-0 Fighting Hawks lead. Same score into the third again. Merrimack had its chances. Jan Spunar was great. Here, this makes it a 2-0 goal game on a Dylan James fantastic pass. Watch again, the setup here was tremendous from Ellis Rickwood. Makes it a 2-0 UND lead 4 minutes into the third period. They'd add an empty netter from Kroll, his second of the game. That would ice it, no pun intended. UND gets its first postseason win in 5 years. 2021, when they won in the opening round, I believe against Quinnipiac. I got to go back and check that out. 3-0 the final. So they are into the regional final. You can see the updated bracket. It'll be Quinnipiac tomorrow night, 6 o'clock at the Premier Center in Sioux Falls on ESPN2. Michigan State and Wisconsin won the other matchup. That'll be a regional final. We got 4 more games today, 2 in Albany and 2 in Colorado. Michigan and Bentley, Duluth and Penn State are playing in lovely Albany, New York, with Western Michigan and Mankato, Denver and Cornell playing in Colorado. 5 years, a long time, folks. In UND hockey terms, it's probably been an eternity for them to get out of that first round. And I'm going back here for a couple other tournaments as well. Just double checking here. Now, that year was American International, 2021, and they beat AIC that year in 2021. That was here in Fargo. And then the following game was the 5 overtime historic game. They lost to Duluth. After that, they had not won an NCAA tournament game. 2022, lost in Albany to Notre Dame in overtime. 2023, they didn't even make the tournament. 2024, they lost to Michigan late in the game. Last year, didn't make the tournament. I mean, that's an eternity for UND hockey to get over the hump and win a postseason game. And I even go back prior to 21. Obviously, there was no tournament in 20 because of COVID. 2019, they missed the tournament, if I remember correctly. 18, they missed the tournament. 17, they lost in the first round of Boston University here in overtime. And then 16, they won the national championship. There it is. That's UND's postseason, which for that school and that sport, there's a reason why they made a change last year. Now Dane Jackson's got a chance to get into the Frozen Four with a tough team. Quinnipiac is really good in hockey. They won the national championship a couple years ago. UND beat Quinnipiac to win their last championship. So there's history between these two schools, and we'll see. There was about 5,000 in attendance last night. I'd expect far more tomorrow night. We'll see. We'll preview that coming up later on in the show. With that, it's a perfect segue to get to our guest lineup here on this Friday morning, brought to us by Northwestern Mutual. We mentioned Cory Provus will join us in about 15 minutes from Baltimore. Give us the lowdown on Game 1 of 162. We got a long way to go. We'll get his thoughts on this club, who to look for, who we could see up in the majors in the not-too-distant future, how the ABS system works, all of that coming up at 9:35. Brad Schlossman will join us from Sioux Falls as well. Give us his thoughts on UND's win and look ahead to another round with Quinnipiac coming up tomorrow night at the Premier Center in Sioux Falls after UND gets its first postseason win in 5 years. And at 10:35, you'll meet the newest Bison football commit from Rosemount, Minnesota. Jack Noonan will join us. Jack verbally committed earlier this week, the fourth commit for the class of 2027. Big defensive lineman. He will join us about this recruiting process and when the Bison became FBS, how that changed nearly everything for him. So he'll join us coming up at 10:35 to wrap up what's been a busy week here on the Big Show. So with that, we'll take our first break. Speaking of Bison football, we come back. Spring practice is underway. We're going to give you 3 storylines to watch for the next month. That's coming up when Hot Mike returns here on a Friday morning. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Friday morning show is off and rolling. Later today, we'll be up inside the indoor practice facility up at North Dakota State because spring football is underway. Now, they've had a couple of practices already, but today is the first one open to the media. So we're going to give you a couple of storylines, at least for myself, that we're going to follow early on and follow throughout the next month. They have 15 practices. We're not sure if they're doing a typical spring game or spring showcase. That's something we'll try and find out today. But here are 3. You can give us some music with this, guys, as well. Let's get 3 storylines to watch over the next month or so. Let's start, obviously, with the quarterback. And Nathan Hayes is the biggie because it's quarterback and it's North Dakota State. And the last 5 starting quarterbacks will play in the National Football League because we're going to put Cole Payton in that mix because he's going to get drafted next month. Hayes comes in now as the guy. And as of the rules state now, he has 1 year to do it unless they change it sometime this season where you get 5 years to play 5 years. Hayes has changed his number, by the way. He's going to wear number 2 this year for the senior out of Chicago. Came in last year, remarkably played 10 games. 10 games! At quarterback as the backup. Threw for 381 yards and 4 touchdowns a season ago. He's thrown 63 career pass attempts, was actually just as much as Cole Payton did in the time that he had taken over as quarterback. Now, we all know he's got a rocket of an arm. Was told that a couple of years ago. Now it's the opportunity for him. Can he take that next step and be the guy? And it's a totally different scenario because now he's playing against FBS competition. His mindset is one that he is intense all the time. And I think for those that haven't got a chance to hear from him, that he's not maybe the most loud guy when he meets with the assembled media, but he understands full well the pressure that goes with being the Bison starting quarterback. When I visited with him in February when the news became official that NDSU was moving to the Mountain West, you could see smile on his face that he's ready for a big challenge that goes with it. And he's been waiting. You know, this is the second year in a row that North Dakota State is going to have a 1-year starter at quarterback, which is not ideal. No, this is the day and age, frankly, we live in college football, but this is a different scenario here. Typically, for other schools, they got 1-year starters because they got transfers coming in to take over the spot. Here, you had Cam Miller be the guy for 4 years, which upset the timeline for Cole Payton, which upset the timeline for Nathan Hayes. So let's go back to COVID. We can blame that. And Trey Lance leaving early. Because Trey was going to be the guy to hand the keys to Cole Payton. Cam Miller, honestly, threw everything off. with his amazing play. But that's obviously storyline number one. To me, the next is who emerges at running back. That is something that Tim Polisic, when he was on the show last week, said that the position wasn't good enough last year. And that's not, I mean, Brika Penu and DJ Scott were solid, but there needs to be more. You look, this is DJ Scott last year. DJ ran for 502 yards and 6 touchdowns a season ago in his first year after transferring in from Kennesaw State. He has great ability. I think we saw it in flashes last year for his way to get up the field. You saw him bowl over the guy from South Dakota. This is the guy I think to watch. Miles Mitchell, who played 4 games last year. He early enrolled. He got here last year for spring football. Mitchell played in 4 games, had 18 carries for 78 yards and a touchdown, which came in the game in Nashville against Tennessee State. They have a lot of hope for this young man. Again, it's out of the Chicago area. The Bison backfield could be a Chicago guy quarterback handed off to a Chicago guy at running back. I think Cortez LeGrand is going to be in the picture as well, but Braylon Tolliver is another name to get to know who early enrolled. Tolliver is out of Colorado, who flipped his commitment from Oregon State to North Dakota State just after signing day. The Bison got him, I think, the day after signing day in December. And that's another guy I think is a true freshman, could see the field right away. That's the Bison backs, at least the top 4. Maybe Charles Ross gets into the mix as well, but those are going to be the guys. They're going to have to be dynamic. They're going to have to make guys miss. That was something, at least to me, we didn't see enough of in 2025. Polisic said it. Help the offensive line out to me last Thursday on the show. That, to me, signals, okay, can you get out in space? Can you make creases where maybe there aren't any? I think Scott has that ability. I think Mitchell certainly does. And Tolliver certainly on tape. I'm looking forward to seeing him in person today for the first time. Potentially has that ability as well. All right, that's a lot of offense. Let's not shy away from defense, because here's a position of strength, and that's defensive line. The Bison D-line could be really good this year. You've got the 2 outside edges, where you've got Kelton McCaslin back. You got Matthew Stenbrotten back. They really like Truman Griffith, the defensive end transfer from Kansas State. But then in the middle, boy, you've got dudes there. Keenan Wilson, all-conference player. Logan Larson, who has the potential to be an all-league player. Elijah Wayne, who was a true freshman. There he is there causing havoc. Zach Vanderpool. That is a dynamite group to me at defensive tackle. Those 4 guys, 2 of them could start anywhere else. I really believe that in the Mountain West Conference. Bison are rock solid up the middle. Defensive end, they're going to have 2 transfers there. They're going to get some rotation as well. Anthony Oakes from Montana Tech, who transferred in. How about him going from an NAIA school? Now he's playing at an FBS school. And Truman Griffith from Kansas State, combined with the guys that are back. Victor Isley is in that mix as well. Could we see one of those redshirt freshmen? Blake Schiltz from Pine Island, Minnesota. I really like Chase Eving from Hancock. We got to see him play just a little bit last year. Had a big play against Indiana State. I believe he had a sack in Terre Haute last year. Those guys, are they ready to get some more reps? We'll find out this spring. That, to me, is... People might roll their eyes like, you know what, come back and talk to me in August when it's fall camp and then the season's right here. That's why I love spring football. You get to see the younger players get out there. Like, I know what Donovan Woolen can do. I know what Keenan Wilson can do. I know what Darius Givens can do. You know what I don't know? I don't know about Marion Moore at cornerback. I want to see him. I want to see Keith Mitchell, the transfer linebacker from Cornell. I want to see him get some run this next month. I want to see Gavin Selmore at linebacker. I want to see Peter Haugo more at linebacker. Those guys all. Alex Elliott at linebacker, the transfer from Minnesota. That, to me, that's kind of a quasi 3B in terms of guys out there for the next month. Special teams, another one. That's another that I'd say like 3C. Drew Klein, who has gotten some reps at kicker, takes over for Eli Ozick, who transferred to Iowa. They got a new long snapper in Chase Balzer. Aaron Bickerton is back as the punter for his second season. But that, to me, are the big ones that we're going to be watching over the next month. I'm really interested to see for a couple of these positions. And wide receiver goes without saying. I know Kolpak wrote about it earlier this week. We talked about it earlier in the week. Knowing that Jackson Williams, this is what they bring back receiving-wise for this year's team. Jackson Williams is the leading receiver. He had 17 catches last year. Reese Kessel, the tight end, is second at 15. But combined, you're losing 110 receptions off of last year's team between Bryce Lance, Raja Nelson, Barika Penu, and Chris Harris. 4 of those the 5 were the leading receivers on the team a year ago. After that, Carson Williams gone, Finn Diggins gone. Mekhi Collins is next up with 6. He's back with Logan Conklin at 5. They're going to need one of those younger receivers to really take a next step. And that's why Polasek also said to me, we got to go to break here, that they're looking at adding a receiver or 2 in the portal. And you can say, well, okay, who's left at this time? And that's fair. I think that's well said there. Like, if you're a dynamite receiver or an excellent receiver, you're already at your destination. But that's their job now, is maybe to find a guy or 2, depending on how the younger players pan out this month. All that we'll be watching. Plenty of coverage over the next month as Bison spring football is underway. Let's break. We come back. We'll chat some Twins, our first segment of the year, with Cory Provus after the Twins lost yesterday. A look ahead to 2026. That's coming up when we return right after this.
To left center field. Back it goes and gone. The 0-2 pitch. Hey, struck him out swinging at 101. The swing and a drive. Left field and deep. Back it goes and gone. And the Twins walk it off again.
Oh, it is so great to have our intro back with our guy Cory Provus back for year 3, joining us on Hot Mic each and every Friday throughout the baseball season. He will give us his unparalleled insight. But first, he is a great Big Ten basketball mind, so I'm sure you had to be grinning last night seeing 3 Big Ten teams make the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8 now.
Not surprised.
Yeah,
not surprised. I mean, the league was really good, and I thought it was very. I wouldn't say there was great parity this year. There were some upsets, don't get me wrong, but the top half of the conference, those were all elite teams that all had the makings of making a deep run here in March. And I'm not surprised at all that Illinois won last night, especially tough winning, not just Houston, but winning in Houston.
Yeah.
I mean, the Cougars are basically playing, 15 minutes from their campus. That's an amazing win, and sets up a great old school rivalry with the Final Four on the line between Iowa and Illinois. That should be great. But Illinois was a team that I saw a few times this season, and they have the makings of a Final Four team. Watch them for one half of basketball. It's like, well, what's their weakness?
Right.
They don't turn the ball over. They don't foul. They've got incredible size. They've got guard play. Keaton Wagler, the freshman sensation. Do you remember that Keaton Wagler, his final 2 choices where he was going to play college basketball, Illinois, Minnesota. Those were the final 2 choices. Yeah. And the Gophers, I understand, thought that they had him, that they felt really good about him. And then Illinois probably came in up their NIL, and that was game, set, match. But Keaton Wagler wasn't this stud, can't miss guy. It's a credit to him and what Illinois has done as a staff to make him into this. What Robbie was saying last night on the telecast, a lottery pick.
Yeah.
So and then Michigan State. There's some great programs that are still going, and the Big Ten is showing up quite quite well in March Madness.
How much do you enjoy doing that, then get yourself fine-tuned for baseball? That you get your Big Ten schedule, and then, all right, it's time to turn the page and get ready for baseball.
Just keeps me sharp.
Yeah.
There are times I miss doing football, but not too much. But doing basketball, it keeps me sharp. It just keeps me, active. It keeps my brain working on a certain path and a certain direction and a certain skill that I think is important. So I like it. And also I like learning about the game from the people that I've worked with now for a long time, but there's something new. And just, the rules change and evolve, the game evolves, and how coaches look at things now it's interesting because baseball gets criticized for being this analytically driven sport, too much numbers. Talk to a college basketball coach. Talk to Fred Hoiberg. He is as analytically driven as anybody, but nobody poo-poos that. It's always baseball. Baseball is always the target, changing the game. I don't like that they're doing this. There's too many numbers. Guess what? Every sport is doing it. Football, too, NFL. Look, if you go to a game at U.S. Bank Stadium, they got those next-gen stats on the big video board at U.S. Bank Stadium all the time, and they're talking about efficiency all the time.
Yeah.
But baseball still gets stepped on when they're talking about analytics. So college basketball, very, very analytically driven.
All right, let's get the viral moment out of the way. We played it earlier this week. I thought you handled it awesome. I thought you're a total pro on that. Were you surprised how much this thing took off?
So my wife, she watches and listens all the time. She called me the other day. She's like, so how does it feel to be this global sensation? I'm like, what are you talking about? She said about the thing, about the bit you and Perk had. And I said, yeah, I see it. I'm like, but that's coming in your realm too? She's like, oh my gosh, is it in my realm? I've had people I haven't spoken to in 20 years that know what you do, but they are like reaching out how funny that was. And my cousin that's a surgeon in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, he's from Chicago, and he listens to Chicago sports radio, and he was telling me that, they're playing it. And a couple people that I like on social media, they've taken their own spin on it. There's so many things that I wanted to say that I had on the tip of my tongue.
I'm sure.
But I think it came out. It came out well. And,
Perfect.
And Perk's the best teammate because he has fun with it. He laughs at himself. And it's become a fun little bit. And I'm glad people have enjoyed it.
You did a little social media promotion as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, the boss was like, "Hey, we're going to film a Twins TV commercial with it, and we're not going to be like, no. Again, we're going to laugh at it and make it our own, and still kind of connect it." And so we had a moment there on the air, and there's a lot of things I wanted to say, like, Perk, I wear many hats, but a urine collector is not one of them. That's not where I want to go. What are you talking about? This just got weird.
Yes.
There's a lot of things I wanted to go,
I bet.
but I didn't know he was talking about his baseball team. It did not resonate with me right away. Have I ever seen Buxton with his pants down? I'm like, what are you talking about? I had no idea what he was talking about. And then the next day we come back on and we have all right, full uniform, baseball pants. He's got his baseball pants down to his ankles, so now we can clarify we're talking about baseball. So we had fun with it.
Just out of context, it's one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Just part on, it's just fantastic. Let's talk yesterday. Joe Ryan was Joe Ryan yesterday. Is this and it's hard, it's 1 of 162 to extrapolate that, but the inability, and I know Derek Shelton talked about it after the game, to get the runner in from second or third obviously cost him, and that's something. Is that a bigger picture thing that we got to focus on in this first maybe month of the year?
I think you focus on it for one game.
Okay.
I think you can't say, boy, this is going to be an issue all year. It was last year, but we had a full season to look at it. I would hope that if they're in that same situation tomorrow, that they perform better. And it was just, they just didn't do well yesterday. Now, I'll also say the guy they faced a year ago, he had a 129 batting average against with runners in scoring position. He's really good. He's a free agent, Trevor Rogers, end of the year. He's going to be highly sought after. He's going to be heavily compensated, as he should. He's really good at what he does. That's why aces go opening day. That's why number ones go opening day. So what's the difference between a number one and everybody else? They can pitch themselves in and out of trouble.
Right.
And I'd also give credit to what Trevor Rogers did yesterday, because he's not beating guys with 97, 98. He was low to mid-90s, throughout the game. But, man, he's efficient. And even though his walk rate was kind of higher yesterday, the Twins had chances, and it wasn't like a massive big strikeout day until the end. But Ryan Helsley, again, he was given a lot of money.
Yeah.
Free agent,
right.
100, 101. And that was the difference in the game. And yes, you can point to Austin Martin. He'd love to have that play back and left, and the poor decision to go to third instead of second base, and that was costly because that turned out to be the winning run. But I'm not going to say that, boy, this is going to be a lingering problem until it is, and it's going to take some time to fully diagnose that.
I know a lot was made, Cory, of what Shelton said earlier this week about how they're going to mix and match in the bullpen. Is that more prevalent in Major League Baseball, or is there hey, this is our seventh inning guy, this is the eighth inning guy, this is the ninth inning guy?
I think, Perk has talked about this, even mentioned this on the air yesterday, that I think the guys know more than what's been publicly said.
Uh-huh.
So we are getting the message that it's going to be mix and match. It's going to be, taking advantage of opportunity. But Perk is of the belief, and he would know more than anybody else, the guys have a pretty good idea when and where they're throwing and how much they're going to. Like, I don't see Cody Lorison or Zach Kent getting a chance to save a game tomorrow. I think they have been informed when they're going to throw. Same with Taylor Rogers. We saw him pitch in a tight game, late yesterday. So I think the guys that we saw in a tight ball game, I think add Anthony Bonda in there as well, and that's going to be your quartet that probably is going to be in the mix. Up a run, down a run, tie game, late. That to me is the quartet that I think is going to be given those opportunities early on. But the Twins bullpen, I think, is fair to discuss and debate because it's probably going to have the weakest velocity of any bullpen I can think of in the game. That it's not going to be 98, 99, and we enjoyed watching that power the last few years, right? And that's not what they're going to have. And it's how they're going to do it, how they're going to be successful in this day and age without having that power that the norm has. That, to me, getting back to the previous question about the offense and runners scoring position, that's going to work out over time. But can this group be successful in today's game in a way that is not the norm? That, to me, is near the top of questions I have about how this team is going to perform early on.
Offensively, what's your biggest question mark heading into this year? What do you look and say, okay, we need an answer on blank?
This is a massive year, and Trevor Plouffe has talked about this, and Justin and Glenn talked about it yesterday. This is a big year for several guys. Like, are you the future, or is somebody going to take your job in a matter of months or a year from now? This is a massive year for Royce Lewis. This is a big opportunity for Brooks Lee. This is a big year for Matt Wall, Trevor Larnach, and other guys as well. But there are many homegrown guys that, okay, here you go. Here's your chance. Make the most of it. You're going to get regular playing time. You're going to be out there. What are you going to do with it? Because the Twins farm system has guys that are ready to take their job that are not at A-ball. I mean, St. Paul is going to have some really good players.
Yeah.
And St. Paul is going to have, we'll see about the pitching, but from a lineup standpoint, I mean, the St. Paul outfield is going to be among the better outfields, certainly in AAA in baseball this season. And that includes right now Alan Rodin. But if Rodin is with the big league club here, then you're going to have Gabriel Gonzalez in left, Walker Jenkins in center, Emmanuel Rodriguez in right. That's a really good outfield that many are on the doorstep of the big leagues. And I would say that Rodriguez, he looked great in camp. And for a guy that's had so many problems with injuries, the Twins said, you know what, go play winter ball. Go play. And he did, and that did him well. He just never stopped. And then came into camp. I didn't think he was going to make the team, but he looked really good.
Yeah.
He hit the ball hard, some power. He can defend. He can run. There's some guys there. And this abundance of left-handed hitting outfielders that the Twins currently have down, I thought it was going to be sorted out in the offseason. And it wasn't. It hasn't. They have a lot of the same pieces. So that idea that the roster doesn't make a whole lot of sense, I think is fair to discuss and debate. But why they went in that direction, that I can't tell you. That's for others to discuss and take you through it. But there's more of that underneath. Like, there's more left-handed hitting outfielders that are coming. So Kalen Culpepper is going to play short. And I don't know if he's a long-term big league shortstop, but if they're starving for offense, they're not going to wait too long to kind of make a call here.
Let's break. We'll have more on that. We had a couple emails that wanted to ask you about that. Also, we'll chat on the first ABS challenge that went down yesterday. We'll do that on the other side of the break as we wrap up Hour 1 with Cory Provus. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody. We're seeing video from Ryan Jeffers, who challenged a call yesterday, the first ABS challenge for the Twins, and won it, which, again, we're going to get used to this throughout the year as we're back with Cory Provus. So for those that were watching the telecast yesterday, how immediate do you have the replay, like, right there as well in your monitor?
We're going off we maybe have it just how technology works, maybe a second or two off from what they're showing on the scoreboard in the stadium. But it's what's frustrating about the strike zone right now, and Justin talked about this yesterday. We are not seeing. You are at home. You are still seeing the box. You are seeing the strike zone box. We do not see that anymore live, and the reason being is that many of the seats behind home plate at these ballparks, they have monitors, and fans are watching. They have the option, and Major League Baseball is worried about cheating. And if fans could be like, "Hey, it's a strike, challenge," if that would have any impact, because gambling is a part of it too. If that would have any impact, and so for the time being, we are not privy to that box, and I hope that changes. And I hope maybe then if you're watching on a stadium monitor, that's a delay or whatever, because that's tricky for us, okay? Yeah. How could he not challenge that? How could he not? We just don't have that box right now to really help us, kind of guide us on that path. That's something that I think will be ironed out here in the coming days. But it's frustrating. But I do like it. I think it ran well in spring training. I think 2 challenges is perfect. Yes. And now we're going to learn about strategy, about when they do it, how often they do it. The Twins, they were aggressive. They challenged, I think, the second or third most of any team in spring training. Their challenge overturn rate was low. It was 40%, but they were aggressive with challenges. But we're going to learn over time, Dom, about the strategy here, counts, who does it. Shelty's adamant he doesn't want the pitchers challenging. They're too emotional. It's going to be the catchers for the most part, hitters here and there, but he does not want his pitchers challenging.
Email came in. This goes back to the last subject we were talking about before we went to break on. Dom, could you ask Cory, what's Twin prospect do we see first, Walker Jenkins or Kalen Culpepper? I mean, Jenkins is hurt, so it probably leans to Culpepper here, right?
I would again. I hate to put this in it all depends on who he's replacing.
Struggling, like right?
If the Twins, if they're short some outfielders, then I think it's Emmanuel Rodriguez. Kalen Culpepper is not on the 40-man roster, I believe, so that does factor in here a little bit where Emma is. I would think that he would be first, but I think again that would maybe Alan Roden. I mean, if you're counting him too, because of the camp that he had, and he is on the roster. I think he could be in the mix, but that would all depend on who's the first man out. Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about an injury, if we're talking about, I think it's if we're talking performance. Matt Wallner a couple of years ago, I think it was in 24, he began the season on the team and was terrible. I mean, he had, I think he started the season, Dom, like 3 for his first 50 or 45.
Wasn't good.
30 strikeouts. I mean, you need a sample to be like, okay, you've got to go down and fix it. And so this is not going to happen over a week. So it all depends on injury. I would think that's going to probably decide the initial roster move more than anything performance related this early on in the year.
I want to get a couple big picture questions with you. Everyone's looking at the Dodgers because they've won it 2 years in a row. Is it theirs to lose again, or do you have another team that Seattle was awfully good, Toronto was great last year? Is there somebody that can rise up and knock these guys off in 2026?
I need to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
I think the Dodgers, they signed the two most impactful free agents, Kyle Tucker and Edwin Diaz. I think that they are the team to beat. And I don't know how you can say otherwise right now. I mean, they fell behind 2-0 and then won 8-2 or whatever the final was yesterday at Dodger Stadium. So they just there's no weak link. And you could say, bullpen last year, some starters went down. Yeah, the regular season for them is a warm up. They're going to get in.
That's
and
exactly
then
right.
For them last year, home field didn't matter. They're too good. They have just too much experience. So they are the overwhelming favorite for a reason. So I need to see the champ get knocked out. Not knocked down, but knocked out before I pick somebody else.
Another email came in. Corey, would you be in favor of moving the World Baseball Classic to the All-Star break? We heard a lot of that when it was going on. What would you make with how big a deal would that be if they could move it to the middle part of the season?
No, I think it's fine where it is.
Okay.
And the other countries look at it differently. Like this is our event, and all those guys get in, and I love it. I think it's fine. Now, I did see a report before spring training that they do tally the injuries that pile up for pitchers the following year, not the current year. So we're talking about 2026, but those that did pitch in the WBC, injuries are more prevalent. So this would be for the 2027 season. So there is some data that's been building about that. I like it. I really like the event. And I think what generated more Team USA involvement was what happened 3 years ago when you had Team USA against Team Japan in the final, and that last moment with Ohtani on the mound and Mike Trout, teammates then with the Angels, to decide it.
Yep.
I think that moment was fantastic for the event, and you're like, I want in, and everybody wants in. And I get why Tarek Skubal only threw the one time. He's got record-setting contract that's coming up around the corner. I totally understand it. Now, I have no problem with the event where it's at, and I understand there's going to be some pitching restrictions for the guys with the season starting. I get all that. Find a way to do it, to compete, to participate, however you can, but I'm fine with the timing of the event.
This was awesome, man. I can't wait to do this for the next 6 months. Have a great call tomorrow. We'll see you back in Minneapolis next week, okay?
You got it, Dom. Good to catch up, man.
There he is, Cory Provus. He'll join us each and every Friday throughout the baseball season at 9:30. The Twins, I mentioned again, are off today. Back in action on Saturday, late afternoon start again, 3 o'clock with Baltimore, and then it's on to Kansas City with the home opener a week from yesterday with Tampa Bay coming to town. I just looked at the weather forecast as well, which looks chilly. Best way to say it. At least it's gonna be chilly here. I can't imagine Minneapolis will be that much warmer, but they're giving away the winter hats for the first 10,000 that are going to Target Field it's a week from today for the opener with Tampa. Let's break. We come back. We'll start our second hour. Brad Schlossman will join us from Sioux Falls after UND's NCAA tournament win last night against Merrimack. That's coming up when we return. We'll come back right after this.
This is Hot Mike on the networks of WDAY. Here's Don Izzo. Time to chat some hockey.
Shot score! North Dakota wins!
The best college hockey writer in the country is on deck.
North Dakota, champions of the college hockey world!
Here's Brad Schlossman.
All right, Schloss joins us to start hour 2. Now, I had a false start there when we went to break because I was questioning myself. It was Merrimack because there's another M hockey school in the news today because Mercyhurst announced they're dropping their hockey program. That's why I stopped myself. Like, no, they beat Merrimack last night. But Schloss, good morning. We got one less team playing hockey. Was that out of the blue on Mercyhurst, or is this expected?
I was out of the blue. Yeah. I mean, Mercyhurst's head coach of the last 38 years is in Sioux Falls, and I had a conversation with him 2 days ago about what the team looks like next year. He actually just retired, so he's moving on, or he was planning to, and they had already named the successor. But I was talking to him about their roster, and the way he certainly was talking about next year.
Wow.
So
Man.
As of 2 days ago, this did not seem to cross his radar unless he was playing very coy.
Well, and it's under the blanket of, trying to adjust costs and all that, which is obviously you and I have gone down the bend on this, and we've talked about it ad nauseum over the last 5 years with rising costs for everything for Division I sports. You're going to see schools drop them. It's going to happen.
Yep, certainly it's a very difficult era for colleges to try to allocate money to the right spots for athletics.
Right. So just the first time UND winning a first-round game in 5 years. I talked about that off the top of the show. Let's just start with that, with just advancing. And I know none of this team has anything to do with 2021, but how big a deal was that to win and get in a chance to go to the Frozen Four tomorrow night?
Yeah, it's just, it's just kind of big to get over the hump and get the first one under their belts. I certainly don't think this team is, overly excited and say, okay, we're finished now and they're done. But, I think maybe more so for almost the fans. I mean, half this roster is new, so they know nothing about the fact that they haven't played there. But certainly the fans were able to have some fun. And, in 2021, they lost that regional final game in 5 overtimes, and then they come back a year later and lose in overtime, and then they lost that 1-goal game to Michigan. And it's just a really hard tournament because everybody is good in the tournament. And every step is a big step. And, we've seen 17 of the last 19 years of 4 seed has beaten a 1. And so it's not like you even go into this matchup. You're playing a Merrimack team that's won 16 games since November, won the Hockey East tournament. So there are really no games where you can just assume a certain team is going to win. So that's why every single game is really big if you can take one more step.
Real offshoot of that, how close were we to having a UND Augustana game in Sioux Falls? Had Merrimack lost?
Yeah, that was it.
Man.
Yeah, that was how close we were. Merrimack was playing UConn in Hockey East, and a lot of the other results in the championship games did go Augustana's way. Augie needed 3 games to go its way. Yeah. The other 2 did go their way, but the third one did not. So. We were 1 game away from having this be Augustana instead of Merrimack in this game.
That would have been something else for a scene last night. Yeah. Let's chat about the goalies. I thought both were fantastic. Plenty. You wrote plenty on Merrimack's goalie going in, but Spoonar has been awesome again all year. He has more. Do I have the stat right? Is he more shutouts than losses this year?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, now that's his 5th shutout, I believe, and he's lost 4 games.
That's
so anytime you have more shutouts than losses, that's a huge accomplishment. And yeah, he's been really good this season, and he's kind of just an interesting guy off the ice. He's very laid back. He's I don't think like the big stage gets to him. I don't know if he knows he's on the big stage or not. Someone asked him about, if he's really excited to play in the NCAA tournament. And he had a comment that said something like, a year ago, I don't know what NCAA tournament is.
Yeah.
He said, now that I know, I'm excited, but he's just a really late, I asked him after he gave up 5 goals to Minnesota Duluth in his last outing, how does he come back? And he just said, I know my job is to play better than the other goalie. Yeah. And it's like, well, yeah, that's pretty simple. And last night he played better than the other goalie. And that's not to say Max Lundgren didn't play well. I thought he was great.
Yes. Yes.
He was real good. Early in the second, UND had the chance to put that game away. And UND was all over Merrimack and had tons of chances. And Max Lundgren was sensational. And then in the third, it was the Jan Spunar show because Merrimack came back with the huge push in the third and needed its goaltender to be really good, and he was.
Now the fact that they got through this game, and now I'm going to get to Quinnipiac here in a second because obviously there's some NCAA tournament history with the Bobcats. Describe atmosphere. We were talking off air. He had over 5,000 people. I would expect, I don't know if double's probably maybe too much, but there's going to be some more bodies driving down tomorrow to come see them play.
Yeah, well, one of the challenging parts about the regional setup with the day off, you got to take 2 days off of work to come for Thursday and Friday. And I think a lot of people said, you know what, if they make it to Saturday, I'll come down Saturday, work out the week and then head down. So I know they had a lot of ticket requests last night within the first hour of the game ending, and a lot of people that are planning to come down. So should be even more fans there for the regional final against Quinnipiac.
The game, how it was playing out, it's 1-0 late in the second. Did you ever get a sense that UND was like grabbing the sticks tighter because, hey, here we go again, it's a tight game, we can't score on this guy?
You know what? I think this team, as Dane Jackson has kind of said throughout the year, they're really comfortable in uncomfortable moments. And in these, they've played they've had this really great year where they've won a ton of games, but UND hasn't been blowing out teams every night. Most of these games are 1-goal games in the third period over and over again. These are close games that they find ways to win. So I actually feel that this team is used to those situations. They've been playing in these types of games for 4 months now, and I did feel there was a couple times when they overpassed on chances where it's like, just put it on net.
Yeah.
The other thing right now, the ice is not good here.
I heard.
They some of the guys who played in the USHL before had said it's not always great here. But this now they take out the put the new logos in and they redo the ice, and I don't think they really skated on it. Fargo has changed the way they do that. When they do the regional, they put in the ice like a week or 2 weeks early now, and the ice was way better for the Fargo regionals recently, and that was a huge change they made after I think the first time they hosted it, and they did not do that here. So the ice was really bad, and I think when you have bad ice, you don't overpass it. Don't overplay it. Sometimes get pucks on net. And I don't know if that was part of them thinking this guy's going to stop everything he sees clean, or if they just were trying to make too many plays. I don't know. But there were times last night I felt, okay, they're overpassing some of these chances. You have traffic in front, put it on net.
Quinnipiac and UND have quite a history. Obviously, 2016 National Championship. I know they played in Fargo the year prior. At Shields Arena. Am I missing another playoff or tournament game they played against one another? Is that it?
That's it. Yeah. And then they played non-conference games against each other, a couple years ago.
So there's a history here. Obviously, not a shared one currently with all the amount of turnover. How good? They're always good, I know, Brad. But how talented is this Bobcats team that UND is going to see tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think they're more skilled and more offensive than a lot of their recent teams. I think some of their recent teams, they had a lot of really old defensemen that they just were impossible to get chances on. They were so good. And then they did have some guys that could really score. This group is more dynamic than the past groups. They maybe give up a little more chances than past groups did too. So they can play a high scoring game. They've got a handful of forwards that are just electric forwards, though. Ethan Wittenbach's the leading scorer in the nation. He can score. And then, Vidicek and Varro, 2 other freshmen who are having great years. Mason Marcellus has been a star since he was in the USHL. Chris Pelosi is a guy who is a superstar for the Stampede here. You start listing all their roster guys and you're like, man, that forward group is really, really talented. I feel like, if UND's to win this game, they need to cause problems for Quinnipiac's D-core. And you know what, they're going to get, Quinnipiac's going to get their chances. They're going to make plays. And UND's got to play tight defensively, and Jan Spunar's got to continue what he's been doing.
Their coach's name is the best name. Rand Pecknold is the best name, a great hockey name out there. They won it a couple years ago. How much has that elevated that they're able to get better players as well now?
Yeah, for sure. And they've been to the NCAA tournament 7 years in a row. They have the longest streak of any team in the country right
think
now.
About that.
NCAA tournament. So I think when you see a team that's constantly in the mix, that's going to Frozen Fours, they've played in 3 national title games in the last 13 years or 14 years. So I think when they're constantly in the mix like that, you have more guys when they call that are answering their calls. They've sent a lot of guys to the NHL recently, and all of that combined certainly gets you higher in players like a Wittenbach and a Varro and a Pelosi, who a lot of teams would have loved to have.
Yesterday, as we look at the bracket here, Michigan State and Wisconsin won. Any surprises there for those games out of Massachusetts yesterday?
Well, the surprise to me was that UConn outshot Michigan State by like 20. Like, they dominated that game. That's where I was coming. These number 4 seeds are really good teams, and anything can happen. And Trey Augustine, frankly, stole that game for the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
He had to be sensational there. Dartmouth had been playing really well. Wisconsin had not been playing well in the second half of the year. I guess momentum didn't matter. Wisconsin was the better team. The Badgers ended up winning that game. And then here, Quinnipiac was the better team from the drop of the puck, I thought. Providence, nice little push there for a little bit in the third to make it interesting, but really the Bobcats, I thought were real good yesterday.
For people that are going to watch today, Brad, which one of the 4 you say, okay, this is the one, sit down or have it on your tablet today. This is going to be the best game of the 4 today.
Which one isn't? I mean, like, I look at these games, and first of all, the first one this afternoon is Minnesota State and Western Michigan.
Yep.
That is going to be a battle. Minnesota State is really tough defensively. They just make it so hard to generate on. That is a 4 seed that nobody wanted to get. The number 1 seeds. They won the league regular season title, won the league playoff title. They can shut it down. Alex Tracy and Ned is sensational. That one's going to be a good game. If you like a lot of goals, that one might not be your game. So if you like goals, the game is the nightcap.
Okay.
Penn State and Minnesota Duluth. Penn State can score with any team in the country, and Penn State can give up goals with any team in the country. Like, they are going to score. They are going to allow chances. I don't know how, they play all offense. So
well, and I haven't watched McKenna yet on television. I want to see him. I want to just see how. I know he's good, but I want to see him play. I have not had a chance to watch him yet.
He's really dynamic. Yeah. He sees the puck or sees the ice really well. He can make plays all over the ice, and he's good. But like, they have Aiden Fink, who is a Hobie Baker finalist last year. They've got Matt DeMarsico, who's phenomenal. I think of Charlie Serrato, second round guy, just a stalwart center for them. They've got so many weapons that they just can. I don't know how much they care to defend sometimes. They are going to outscore their problems. That's how they play. And they're going to play a Duluth team that can play a very structured game. The other thing, Penn State leads the nation in penalty minutes per game. Minnesota Duluth's power play number 2. Penn State cannot go to the box over and over. The Plants and Jason Chagabe and Ty Hansen will eat them up if that happens. That's a fascinating matchup, though. If you want goals and you want entertainment, watch the nightcap. Yeah. If you want a tough, physical brand of hockey, tune in early. You're going to see it with Minnesota State and Western.
2 last things for you. A lot was made. I don't know how much you know, but what you can share some light on Garrett Raboyne staying at Augustana. How real was the opportunity for him to coach the University of Minnesota, from what you know?
Yeah, I think it was very real. I ran into Josh Morton last night here in Sioux Falls, the athletic director at Augustana, and he was a very happy man.
I bet.
Raboyne is staying at Augie. He's done a very, very good job. Getting the new facility is huge for the program. That attracts recruits. Their goaltender just signed an NHL contract. And that's a big win for the Augustana program. And I think the level of recruits they'll get will continue to go up. They've got a lot of guys that play really hard, and they're terrific players. I think now you might see them get some guys with a few more goals on their sticks that can, change games.
All right, last thing for you here. I always open up the runway for you for your appeal to move the regionals out of go for it, man. I'll just set it up on a tee for you.
Yeah, I talked to some of the Eastern teams here.
Yeah.
Who had been pro keeping it the way it is, and it's not a problem as much out east. Because everything is so close. It's
Correct.
Drive.
Yes.
The funny part is I hear the commentators talking about how UND has this game so close to home. I'm like, do you guys realize it's 4.5 hours away? Like, that's so much further than any trip they make out east. Like, what they think is long is 2 hours.
Correct.
I'm like, they can go to a game and come home at night for most of these. Like, they're within an hour of a lot of these places. And that's not the case here. How many teams are within an hour of Worcester? A lot.
A ton, yeah, right.
So I don't think one of the coaches came up to me and said, coming out here has opened my eyes to what the West goes through. Like, I think my mind might be changing now. He said, look at this. We've got us and Quinnipiac both playing 1,500 miles from home. He's like, that just, doesn't make sense. So I really think that, there is continued momentum to move it to campus sites. We'll see if we get to the finish line. There's a lot more people on board than there were 15 years ago when I started writing about this.
This should be named after you. I'm just going to tell you that. When they enacted it, should be the Schlossman rule on that. Yeah. Well, Quinnipiac and Providence are literally an hour from one another. Quinnipiac's in Connecticut. Providence, obviously, Rhode Island. Yeah. Like, what are we doing? And they're playing in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that game should have been in Schneider Arena in Providence. It would have had a great crowd. Yes. The fans would have been excited. Got to see a great game.
Man.
Yeah. Instead, it's out here, and last night's game should have been at the Ralph.
Yeah,
you'd have had 12,000 people there. But
what do we think? What do we think tomorrow night then? Roughly, what do you think attendance-wise will be for tomorrow night?
That's a great question. I'm fascinated to see it. Really fascinated to see how many new people come down. But it should be real good tomorrow night. It would be even better if it were in Grand Forks rather than 5 hours away.
Yeah,
or Fortnite, whatever it is. But yeah, it's someday.
But we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. It's great to see you, bud. I know you're a busy man. Thanks so much for doing this. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. We'll talk soon, all right?
Perfect. Thank you.
Brad Schlossman joins us each and every Friday, chat some UND hockey. Fighting Hawks and Quinnipiac, not Quinnipiac, Quinnipiac. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock on ESPN2. They moved the start times around a little bit. Ben, if you would throw the bracket back up again, I appreciate it. Because that one game that Brad was talking about, the Penn State game, tonight is a 9 o'clock Eastern start. Penn State and Duluth are playing at 9 o'clock Eastern time, and that game's in Albany, New York. Again, what are we doing? Why is there a game starting at 9 o'clock Eastern time in New York? Because of television. I know my answer. I know the answer to the question, but why is the early game in Colorado? That doesn't make sense. Somebody make this make sense to me. I don't understand. Anyway, UND Quinnipiac tomorrow at 6. Michigan State and Wisconsin will play at 3:30 in Worcester, Mass. The winners of those games move on to the Frozen Four in Las Vegas. All right, we're overdue for a break. Let's get caught up here. We got a few emails to get to. Jack Noonan from Rosemount, Minnesota, coming up in about 15 minutes. Back on Hot Mic right after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL, KMBN, and Inforum.com right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Our thanks to Brad Schlossman giving us a few minutes, as always. Good stuff there. UND coming up tomorrow night in its matchup with Quinnipiac to go to the Frozen Four. A couple of basketball notes. We started the show, obviously, with the men's Sweet 16 games. The women's Sweet 16 gets going later today. Minnesota plays tonight against UCLA. The Bruins are an 18.5-point favorite. If you've not watched UCLA play yet, Lauren Betts is the best player in the country. All of 6'7". She's fantastic. That is a large challenge, both literally and figuratively, for the University of Minnesota tonight in their game in Sacramento. That's where that regional is at. UConn plays North Carolina today, Notre Dame and Vanderbilt, and then Duke and LSU is the other game today. The other four games go tomorrow. Their Final Four is in Phoenix this year on the women's side. A couple of other local notes on women's basketball. Yesterday, South Dakota's team won in the WNIT, so they are on to the Great Eight, as they call it. The Bison were in that same round last year. USD beat Pepperdine last night. They will play Montana State on Sunday afternoon in Vermillion. Remember, you got to pay to host those games. USD won the WNIT when Amy Williams was the head coach. So now with Carrie Amy there in her second year, they're playing Montana State. We saw Montana State here back in December. The Bison beat them by 30 in that game of the Big Sky Challenge. Be intrigued to see who ends up winning that game. Also last night in the WBIT, Columbia, who we saw run roughshod over the Bison on Sunday, won at Cal last night, 74-68. So that Columbia team is now in the Final Four of the WBIT. Last night, Perry Page, who's their great interior player you saw at 24, and Riley Weiss, who's their leading scorer at 22. So Columbia now will play Wisconsin on Monday. Those games are in Wichita. It's Columbia, Wisconsin, and Kansas and BYU are the Final Four. Kansas, of course, has Elle Evans on their team in her last go-around after 2 great years at North Dakota State, now wrapping up her collegiate career and a chance maybe to win this thing. We'll, if they're able to win, I will put the feelers out that maybe we can get Elle on the show next week, because the championship is on Wednesday, April 1st. So we'll see if we can potentially get Elle to join us next week on the show. Also, on a women's basketball note, we mentioned Mandy Pearson was hired as the new head coach of St. Thomas. She will join us on Tuesday's show, next Tuesday at 10 for the Cobber Hall of Famer, now a Division I women's basketball head coach at St. Thomas. That'll be next Tuesday, so looking forward to that. Let's take a break. We come back, we'll talk some ball before we get out of here. You'll meet the newest football commit for North Dakota State, Jack Noonan from Rosemount, Minnesota. He'll join us when Hot Mike returns after this. Welcome back, everybody. Final half hour of the week. As we get ready for a great sports weekend, we'll tee it up for you before we say goodbye here on this Friday morning. It is anticipated as maybe a big weekend for Bison football. We mentioned earlier as the first week of spring ball wraps up, we're going to be up there later today. They know they got a few recruits that are going to be on campus that they're hoping they're going to get some positive phone calls from. Our next guest already gave them a positive phone call earlier this week out of Rosemount, Minnesota. Jack Noonan verbally committed on Tuesday to become the 4th member of the Bison class of 2027. And he joins us this morning to chat about it. First off, congratulations. Has the phone been on fire the last couple of days? Give us the lowdown after you made it public.
Yeah, so after I posted on X, just a lot of Bison fans, following me, reposting, and a lot of texts and stuff. So phone's been going crazy, and it's really cool to see the community back me up here.
Was that even surprising to you? I'm sure you knew about Bison football fans, but did that even strike you as like, wow, this is a lot?
Yeah, this is more than I expected for sure. So, yeah, very grateful.
All right, so give us the lowdown. Tell us about why North Dakota State, when they came in the picture, and why this was the fit for you.
Yeah, so they were the first school that offered me, so they believed in me first. I already had connections with Coach Olson being my area recruiter. Already had his number, was already texting him a lot. So we built a very strong relationship early on. And then I went up there for a game day, a junior day, and a practice. And all 3 times I loved it. I liked it so much. And comparing my other options, talking with my family, I just felt at home at Fargo. So that's kind of what it boiled down to.
What did you take away, Jack, from each time you were up here? Was it something different that you gleaned from your visits up here?
Yeah, I mean, they work hard. That's what I gathered. They work hard. They're very disciplined. They're very intense. And I like that a lot. They're very, very intense in everything they do. Coach Paulsek's always hooting and hollering at the players, getting them going, and I just love that environment. That's just the environment I want to be around.
All right, speaking of hooting and hollering, when you called him, what was his reaction when you told him you were going to come to NDSU?
Oh, man, he was with the D lineman at the time, so they were all screaming in the background. They were pumped that I, committed, and he was just very excited, and he knew, right away that I'd be a great fit.
So I'm interested for you, when did you first start getting either contacted or, hey, this is Division I football is a possibility for you? How early, was it freshman year, sophomore year? Take us back on that.
Yeah, so freshman year, I kind of got some camp invites from the local schools. Like Minnesota was the biggest one that offered me a camp invite. Sophomore year came around, I started getting more attention from other states, more camp invites. And then after my junior season, I got all district, and that kind of got me a lot of attention from other like all the Dakota schools. Central Michigan reached out, some MAC schools. So that's after my junior year, it was kind of like, all right, come to our junior days, come to our practices. Let's have some real talks.
All right, give us watching you play. We just saw some highlights of you. What's the best way to describe you as a defensive lineman up front?
Yeah, I'm real physical. I'm hard off the ball. I'm always knocking the offensive lineman back. And at Rosemount, you run to the football. So every time, no matter where the ball is, I'm going and I'm hitting that ball carrier and letting them know I'm there.
There's a pretty good lineage, Jack, of Rosemount guys that have come up to Fargo and played really, really well. Did you know about that? How big a deal was that for you?
Yeah, Cedric Wall, it was the most recent wide receiver. So when I was up there, some players, they knew I was from Rosemount, so they're asking me about him. That's the only one I'm too young to remember any of the other ones, but yeah, so he's the main one that I know went up to Fargo.
You're making me feel
old. I know
Rosemount. You're making me feel old. Like Zach Vra was a Rosemount guy, Mr. Football, and he was an unbelievable wide receiver for the Bison up here. But there's a great lineage of guys that have gone on from your high school to play college ball, not just at NDSU.
Yeah. So my Coach Erdman does a great job developing players. The coaching staff's been there a long time together. So great history at Rosemount, and they produce very good football players.
Well, we got our first look up here at 6A football with Moorhead being in it. So you're in it. We finally got a glimpse in it. But every Friday night, man, just describe what this is like. You're going up against, 3 or 4, maybe more Division I guys every Friday.
Yeah, it's definitely week by week it's a battle.
Yeah.
There's some big guys I go up against. Prior Lake, there's a kid had offers from Iowa State, Lakeville South, offers from Minnesota. So there's some big kids down there, and I think iron sharpens iron. So going up against those kids, it really makes me a whole lot better. And week by week, it's never easy. So I know I like the hard competition. It's fun, and I think it's just awesome.
Speaking of competition, obviously things changed when NDSU made its announcement to the Mountain West. How much did that were you paying attention to, and what did that change for your outlook for NDSU after now they're an FBS school?
Yeah, so they offered me before they joined the Mountain West. So, and they were still on like the top of my list. That had nothing to do with it. But then when they made the jump up, that kind of changed my perspective a little bit. Like, all right, well, now this is the best football in the country. So I was excited, and that just kind of put the cherry on top for me. Just a great program. I know they're going to do a great job at the FBS with their work ethic. So I was just excited for the challenge.
Jack, without any other real group of 6 schools up here, how much does that give NDSU either an advantage or an advantage to you? Like that they are the only real G6 in the upper Midwest outside of Northern Illinois.
Yeah. Fargo does a great job, before they even were in the FBS. They're the best team in North Dakota. They're the NFL team. There's no team up there. So, and then when they joined the Mountain West, that only gives them more how do you describe it? Attention.
Yeah.
So just more attention, and from other states around North Dakota being in that group of 6. So that's just exciting to be a part of that program and this the journey next.
You are a multi-sport standout. You are a lacrosse goalie. First, I'll ask this: why? Because that seems like the craziest position in the world to play. Tell us about your history with playing goalie in lacrosse.
Yeah, so when I was 10, 12, nobody wanted to play goalie, so they just cycled through the kids in the net, and I was the best one at it. So all right, well, you're gonna stay playing goalie, and it's you get a couple of nice bruisers and shiners in the legs and arms, but it's fun when you're in that and staying on your head for your team and winning it for the boys.
Oh, so has that helped you in football and vice versa? Has football helped you be a better goalie?
Yeah, goalie and lacrosse is you're kind of like the quarterback on the defense. You kind of seeing everybody and what they're moving, and sometimes your defenders can't see. They don't have eyes in the back of the head, so you're kind of looking around, telling them what to do. So that leadership aspect has carried on to the football field with my on defense, just yelling at my players, telling them what to do. So that aspect's carried over to football, and flexibility. My bend has, has always been good, and I've always been flexible. I've never been stiff because in lacrosse, I'm always stretching, kind of spreading across the net. So that's helped my bend a lot in football.
Well, I got to imagine you got to be limber. You got to have some pretty good agility to play that position, right?
Yeah, fast feet. Net's around 6x6, and the ball's moving at 90 miles per hour. So got to be quick on your feet.
You ever took one right in the head, like a shot in the Can you give us the lowdown on that?
Yeah, too many. You see the ball out of the stick, and then next thing you know, it's hitting you in the face.
So lacrosse is just starting to pick up here. I know how popular it is there. How many is that a popular sport for football guys to go do, and why the attention or the amount of interest in it in the Twin Cities, in your opinion?
I think the reason it has a lot of interest in the Twin Cities is hockey. There's a lot of hockey players that go over and play lacrosse, but there are football guys on my team. My linebacker, Max Jones, he's a D-pole for me, and it's fun. He likes to hit the kids because he's a lot bigger than all of them.
I have to ask, this is all done, is it earlier than you thought in terms of your commitment and recruitment? How much does this change your calendar for the upcoming summer?
Yeah, I mean, I got offered so early, and I've been up there 3 times. I mean, I didn't really have to see anything else. It just felt like home. And the other schools, been there, but nothing really felt like NDSU. Every time I went up there, it felt like every time I left, it's like, wow, like I kind of felt like I was leaving home. And I did there's summer camps during the summertime. So I've been up there before, and it's just an awesome environment. Fargo's such a great city. So it really just felt like home for me. So I was able to commit early. And then my change in the summertime is just probably just learning the defense a little bit early for NDSU. So I'm not going up there so blind, and I'll have a little bit of education.
I know how big a deal it was to have it done before your senior year. This is like, you're not even close to being done with your junior year yet. Is that even earlier than you thought?
Yeah, I mean, the timeline most of the schools were giving me were before the summer hit.
Yeah.
Because they have to just keep going through the list of guys, but they're like, hey, you're up here and we want you to commit so then we can move on the recruiting board. So it's a business. I respect it. So, but felt like home. So I had to call it home.
Here's the easiest question. How glad are you it's over?
Oh man. It was a lot of good conversations with my family though. Yeah. But I'm really happy to, join the herd. I'm really excited, and it takes a good amount of stress off the shoulders, but yeah, I'm just super pumped to be a Bison.
Now, did you celebrate? Did you go out to dinner? How did you celebrate this is being done with?
Well, I committed the night before we left for spring break, so I'm in Vegas right now, but can't do any of the fun stuff.
Well, that's at least one spot to go and enjoy it, I guess. On that. What's the outlook for Rosemount lacrosse this year? Give us a preview. How good are you guys going to be this spring?
And we only lose about 3 starters, so anything less than a state championship is a disappointment.
We'll be keeping an eye on it, bud. Thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it. Congratulations, and we'll check back when football gets going, okay?
All right, I appreciate you for having me on.
Jack Noonan joining us from Rosemount, Minnesota, newest member of the Bison football class for 2027. Defensive lineman joins earlier. You saw we had Cody Braun join us from Minnetonka, who's a safety. Joins Austin Whittick, the running back out of Wisconsin, and Roby DeClona, the cornerback out of Florida. Those are the 4 that are in the boat. I've been told that NDSU expects at least a couple more this weekend. So when we come back on Monday's show, we'll see if that has come to fruition. I know the offers that are out there, and that's the intriguing thing now, I think, for those of us that are recruiting nerds on this, is to see who they're offering and who else has offered that particular player. It's one thing if South Dakota State and UND and South Dakota, we got used to that. Now it's what other FBS schools are in the mix. Are there other Mountain West schools offering these particular players? What MAC schools are, because NDSU has gone head-to-head with the MAC and routinely beaten a Western Michigan, a Central Michigan, a Miami of Ohio. They have beaten those schools routinely. They've beaten Wyoming, I'll say fairly routinely, in the past 5 to 10 years. They've beaten Wyoming for a couple of guys that are on the current roster here for 2026. But then, are we going to see the Bison go up against UNLV for a guy? Are we going to see them go up against New Mexico or UTEP? They've already gone against Northern Illinois, and they've already gone against Wyoming. But Nevada, San Jose State, like David Mack got an offer from Sacramento State. Like, that's, to me, is the intriguing part of how that chapter of this starts to unfold over the next little bit. It'd be really interesting, the kind of player that they start targeting and what areas they start looking at. I mean, this is a no-brainer. The Twin Cities has been harvested by the Bison and all the other Dakota schools for the last 20 years. To me, it's now, are they going to Colorado? Are they going to go to California? Are they going to go to Texas? That's the areas I'd be really interested to see. They're not going to get away from their bread and butter of North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, Minnesota, maybe a little bit of Iowa. They're not going away from that. But what other fringe? Remember when they hit Florida for the first time, how big a deal that was? Or when they tried to dip their toes in Arizona. That didn't really work so much. Texas certainly produced some really good players for them. That is the interesting part to follow going forward. We have come to our final break of the show. We'll take it now. We come back. We'll get you ready for a great sports weekend. It all starts later today. We'll preview that one. Hot Mike wraps up on WDAY Extra right after this. All right, wrapping things up for the week. We are out of here. We're back on Monday. We'll recap the teams that are making it to the Final Four in the men's basketball tournament and the Frozen Four in the men's hockey tournament. We'll have 2 of the 4 teams for the women's Final Four. We'll have the women's Elite 8 games coming up on Monday, so looking forward to that. I got a message in, actually, while we were in break off our conversation with Jack. The Bison already have 2 more commits lined up. Now I got to farm it out and find out exactly who they got, but that number has already grown. So we'll get that to you coming up as soon as possible for our news, either tonight, tomorrow, Sunday, whenever we get it. We will bring it to you. A reminder as well, for those wondering, we will be in Sioux Falls tomorrow. Our guy Riley Swenson will be heading down tomorrow to cover the UND Quinnipiac game, so look for live coverage coming up on our sports tomorrow at 6 and at 10. I know some may have seen on some promotion that we were supposed to televise today the Bison game against Oral Roberts. Ben, I don't know if we have a tower cam shot, if it's still snowing out, but we're not doing that today. The games have been moved. Oral Roberts, I'm sure, was thrilled to get off the airplane and see there's still some snow on the ground. We had a snow shower going at about 9 o'clock when we started the show. But no game today, so no broadcast, obviously, today. They are playing a doubleheader tomorrow. We are not televising that. And then a game on Sunday. We'll schedule to have NDSU St. Thomas baseball and softball next week. So we'll get ready for some spring sports coverage. We're looking forward to that coming up next week. But Bison baseball, their home opener will be a day later. It's supposed to be 60 degrees sometime tomorrow and Sunday. So it'll be okay to go to Noonan Outdoor Field. And for our friends from Tulsa, they won't freeze in the process on that. So that's an update there. Bison softball, which we're going to chat about here in a second. What a weekend for them. They're ending non-conference play in Tuscaloosa against Alabama, which has, of course, won. Abby Ducher plays for Alabama and her swan song with the Crimson Tide. Neat deal for Darren Mueller's team to play a couple games with Alabama this weekend. So that's something we'll be keeping our eyes on as well. With that, let's do some What to Watch before we get out of here. All right, here we go. Let's start first with tonight. I mentioned earlier, Gophers, UCLA, 6:30 on ESPN for a spot in the Women's Elite 8. First time Minnesota in this round since 2005, and now you got to face Lauren Betts, the best player in the country. That's going to be, well, maybe the second best player. As he fought really good for UConn. We'll find out tonight, 6:30 on ESPN. The men's Sweet 16 continues. St. John's and Duke, part of a powerhouse 4 teams that are in Washington, D.C. Michigan State and UConn is the late game. That's on CBS tonight at 6. Again, space the times out. 6, 7, 8, 9 would be perfect for if they do that. They don't do that, though. I mentioned the Bison and Bama. 6 o'clock tonight. SEC Network Plus. If you get ESPN Plus, you'll be able to watch the Bison game tonight with Alabama, which should be a tough one. Bama's normally really, really good in softball. Also, our weekend What to Watch, which we do each and every Friday. The UND game, 6 o'clock with Quinnipiac. Tomorrow night, ESPN2 for a spot in the Frozen Four. We'll see if UND can make its first Frozen Four trip in 10 years. The Wolves play tomorrow on WDAY against Detroit. You can check that out at 4:30. And the Twins are back in action against the Orioles at 3 o'clock tomorrow on Twins TV. So that's what you got to watch. It should be nice to get out, but you can have your tablet, phone, whatever, ready to go. We got to go. Thanks to our guests today, to Cory Provus, to Brad Schlossman, and to Jack Noonan. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. We leave you. I went the whole show. I didn't say one word about the unbeaten New York Mets, but thanks to the Pirates who went to the Dom Izzo School of Outfielding, we won yesterday, and Carson Beng hit a home run in his Major League debut, which was pretty darn cool to see. Thanks so much for joining us all week, everybody. Have a tremendous weekend. We'll be back on Monday to recap it all. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Monday, everybody.